Hi, welcome to the Caltrans Dime YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I'll go over how to create a combined gradation report. Before we jump into combined gradations, let's discuss the method for submitting single aggregate gradations in Dime. If a single aggregate sample represents the entire gradation, you will create a Dime sample record and submit your gradation test result using the testing procedure you use, such as CT202, AASHTO T27, or AASHTO T30. Typically, the percent passing a given sieve is calculated by the cumulative mass of the material retained divided by the total mass of the sample. If RAP is used, you might need to include a correction factor. If multiple aggregate sample represents the gradation, for example combining two stockpiles, you will need to create two sample records, submit a gradation test result for each sample, and link them together in the combined gradation reporting tool. Multiple aggregate subsamples are combined in specific proportions, and the percentage of material passing on each sieve and the combined gradation are calculated. For a given sample, in the formula, big A represents the gradation and little a represents the proportion. Depending on your aggregate mix, you may have up to 4 or 5 aggregate sources. Big P represents the combined percent passing for your gradation. The combined gradation reporting tool requires users to link Dime sample IDs together to create a report. The system intuitively guides the user through the process by either creating new sample records on the page or selecting an existing sample record. Only Caltrans labs and users types such as org managers, data administrators, or data editors can create a combined gradation report. Let's go through the tutorial on how to create a combined gradation report in Dime. To get started, log into Dime. First, I am looking for an existing aggregate sample record that I created. I will clone it to create 4 subsamples to use within my combined gradation report. I'll do this before heading to the combined gradation dashboard. When cloning the sample record, make sure you modify certain fields that correspond with your new sample record. In most cases, you will need to modify the date the sample was taken and the date that the sample was received at the lab. Make sure you've identified the material source and size within the material identification section. The first subsample record that I created was a 3/4 inch aggregate sample. I will submit the gradation test result using AASHTO T27 and enter the results by raw cumulative mass retained values. The combined gradation report I am creating contains 4 subsamples. I will only show the first entry, but I'll replicate this process 3 more times using the cloning function, adjusting the aggregate size for each subsample and submitting the gradation result for each subsample. Dime sample IDs are generated based on the date that the sample was taken and the sample's unique key. My subsample keys are 18, 19, 20, and 21. Now navigate to Reports and Summaries and select Combined Aggregate Gradation Report. This brings you to the Combined Aggregate Gradation Reports dashboard, where you can access and manage all aggregate gradation reports efficiently. Here you'll find an overview of existing reports and various navigation options, such as creating new reports, viewing published ones, and managing specifications. Let's take a look at how you manage your specifications. The dashboard categorizes Caltrans aggregate gradation specifications into 3 groups: JMF HMA aggregates, PCC aggregates, as well as soil and others. If a specification isn't listed, you can create a district specification to use within a combined gradation report. District specifications are accessible to any Caltrans organization account within the same district. Back to the dashboard. Here the table displays all subsamples and test records linked to your report. You can view, edit, clone, or delete reports. Once a report is published, it cannot be deleted. Let's create a combined gradation report. In the gradation information section, begin by filling in the project identifier or the DEA number. In my case, I'll use the project ID with 5 nines and create a report for a 3/4 inch RHMAG mix. You may also use this project ID if you want to practice creating a combined gradation report, as this project ID is for testing purposes only. Next, identify the material tested and the primary aggregate nominal size. This dynamically generates a report name for you, but you can rename it based on your preferences. Hit save. The next section is managing your subsample information. This may seem a bit complicated at first, but the more you play around with the buttons, the more it will start to make sense. I will first define how many subsamples to include in my report. In my case, there are 4 subsamples, so I'll hit the Add Subsample button 3 times. If you added one too many, you can remove the last subsample. This is also a good mechanism for clearing the data within a subsample section. If you do not have existing dime sample IDs to use within your report, you can easily create one using the buttons on the right-hand side. First, select the material type such as aggregate, anti-strip, or recycled asphalt pavement, and choose the subsample number to which you would like to assign the new sample record to, and hit Create Sample. It will ask you for the minimum information necessary to create the sample record. In my case, I created my subsamples beforehand. I will select my dime IDs I created. My sample unique keys are 18, 19, 20, and 21. The system remembers your most recent IDs displayed at the top search bar. After selecting my subsample, I will select the only existing gradation test in the subsample record. Alternatively, you can create an AASHTO T27, AASHTO T30, CTM 202, or ASTM C136 test gradation result on the page. Lastly, I'll enter in my subsample bin percentages. After all subsamples have been input, hit save. Next, let's go to the Specifications tab. If a JMF ID exists on the jmf.dot.ca.gov website, you can reference the JMF submittal ID. Otherwise, you can choose a specification based on the Manage Specification dashboard. Here you can select a specification type, which will add columns in the report that will display the specification limits, or target value and tolerance, or operating range and contract compliance. In my case, I'll choose the target value and tolerance option and select the combined gradation spec for a 3/4 inch RHMAG mix. I will manually enter the JMF target value, and DIME will calculate the spec limits based on the allowable tolerance. Please ensure the JMF target value and spec limits are accurate. Once the specification is defined, click Save. Next, preview the report. Verify that the combined subsample percentage totals 100. Compare the combined gradation percent passing values with the specification limits. If adjustments are necessary, go back to the previous section to make changes. If everything appears correct, click Next. For this report, the combined gradation does not comply with the specifications. Once a report has been published, the associated gradation test results are automatically published. Lastly, you can email project personnel regarding the published combined gradation report. The email includes a direct link to access the report, which can also be found on the View All Published Combined Gradation Reports page. That concludes the creating of a combined gradation report. I encourage everybody to explore the combined gradation reporting tool and contact a DIME admin for any questions or training requests. Thanks for watching.